There are 7 playable classes in Diablo 2, Resurrected. Each offers flexible play styles. As you level up, you must choose skills. Depending on what talents you select, you can have completely different experiences with each class. Today's gameplay is the Necromancer class. Trying to find the best Necromancer build in Diablo 2 Resurrected. With the Summoner build, you can raise an army of undead soldiers, mages, and golems to destroy any demons that stand in your path. So, if you like the idea of commanding a screen filled with possessed corpses, the Necromancer should be on your radar. The Necromancer features a unique playstyle that's very hands-off compared to every other class in the game. Your summoned creatures do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, so once the Necromancer summons his army, there's not a lot for you to do other than watch your enemies to the undead. This build is intended to be used for Nightmare and Hell difficulties starting around level 40. Necromancers are regarded as masters of curses and summons, however, they are no strangers to dealing direct damage either. Their poison and bone spells can be very devastating when used properly, and they provide some much-needed defenses that make them beginner-friendly to use. Bone necromancers are famous for their survivability, crowd control, and high magic damage output. Moreover, they utilize curses and summons to some extent, which makes them a force to be reckoned with. The Necromancer in Diablo 2 Resurrected can use dark magic to summon allies that will fight for them. If you'd rather do the fighting yourself, you can cripple enemies with poison or lock them down with deadly bone attacks. As mentioned earlier, your undead skeletons are going to carry you through each act. Raise Skeleton is your main skill at the beginning of the game. Focus your points into this ability until you can summon up to 12 skeletons at once. Skeleton Mastery is just as vital to upgrade as it permanently increases the life and damage of your undead army. To get some variety in your undead army, add points into Clay Golem to tank some damage for you. Diablo 2 came out in 2000, and Diablo 2, Resurrected dogmatically sticks to the original design while layering new, high-res graphics over the old ones. You can swap between the new and old looks at will, and adding new technical features. You take control of a lonely warrior, chosen from 7 different classes, and are condemned to wander Blizzard's arid, Old Testament wasteland, completing quests, plundering chests, and clicking zillions of cloven-hoofed demons to death. The real Diablo 2 grognards stick around long after the credits roll to max multiple characters to the staggering level 99 cap. This game took over countless lives at the turn of the millennium, and it still has the capacity to dominate your time in 2021. With the right group of friends, you might find yourself running multiple dungeons over and over again, desperately excavating the most remote corners of the loot table. Diablo 2, Resurrected. The modern game industry frequently saddles all the fun parts of games with depressing stat grinds. We log in to be bombarded with timed storefront discounts, a cutthroat cosmetics market, and a litany of different currencies and stat tiers crowded on the home screen that makes us go cross-eyed. But this remaster is proud to be a dinosaur, with no monetary retrofitting around the edges to bring it further into the 21st century. We're out here killing zombies and studiously comparing the blue trident on the floor with the one currently attached to our character sheet. No auction house economy or crafting matrix gets in the way. Honestly, that's downright revolutionary when compared to the constant sales pitches sucking the joy out of just about every other experience available on live servers. That doesn't mean players can slack off in their Necromancer builds in Diablo 2. Diablo and his brothers will still lay waste to anyone foolhardy enough to come at them unprepared. So in order to prepare one's Necromancer for the worst, some fitting runewords are in order. Thankfully, the Necromancer's not too picky with his equipment. As far as Necromancer runewords go, Ancient's Pledge is a little too universal. In fact, some players might even trade it in for other runeword items in the offhand slot. However, it helps immensely once players get to Nightmare or Hell difficulty where every elemental attack can spell doom. Otherwise, a rare shield or a shrunken head might be better if the resistances don't need improvement. Because of its universal benefits for low-level or early game players, the stealth runeward is always a good choice. In fact, some players in normal difficulty probably already have the runes ready without any effort on their part. Fast cast rate plays a good role here, especially for bonemancers. Everything else helps a bit. Necromancers, then they might want to get the shield variant of the runeward instead. In any case, both variants are beneficial mostly for their mana increase, skill level increase, and impressive faster cast rate. For anyone still having a dilemma, the shield version is more practical. One good reason why players might want to get the shield version of the Spirit runeward is that the white runeward for wands is just too impressive. It's a highly desirable combination for bonemancers and not too bad for hybrid summoners. If anything though, it was tailor-made for Bonemancer builds, so make sure to maximize it. Once players have graduated past the early stages of enduring the good but suboptimal stealth body armor, then they'll want to switch over to bone. As the name implies, bone is made with necromancers in mind. The bone armor skill is one of the most reliable survival abilities of the necromancer, so it's handy here. Meanwhile, bone spear is also a welcome trigger. Again, it's mostly bonemancers who will benefit from this armor, but it's still viable for summoners or poisonmancers. It would seem more favorable for druids than necromancers, but really, Heart of the Oak is just stellar for any spellcaster class. One really can't go wrong with the hefty to all skills. The damage increase against demons can be quite a game changer during hell or ball farming runs. All in all, it's also a great weapon or runeward for a high-level necromancer of any build. So far the Necromancer build is a great to start a new game fresh and fun. Now let's move on to the Diablo story, which is going to be boring for some people. Let's start. Diablo 2. The story so far. Blizzard have released a blog focused on the story of Diablo 2 so that new and returning players can familiarize themselves with the events leading up to the start of the game. The Lord of Terror returns in Diablo 2 Resurrected, bringing with him millennia of cosmic baggage spanning numerous realms, books, and games. To help you better understand the state of Sanctuary at the beginning of your new adventure, we put together a brief timeline of the tug-of-war between the high heavens and the burning hells and the chaotic events sparked by this strife. Since the beginning, light and darkness engaged in an eternal war called the Eternal Conflict, each vying for the power to hold sway over all creation. On one side of this conflict were the angels of the high heavens, warriors led by the Anguirus Council of Archangels who believed that only absolute order could govern the realms. On the other, the demonic denizens of the burning hells led by the prime evils, Diablo, Baal, and Mephisto, who claimed that darkness and chaos were at the center of all things. Yet, despite the length and sheer magnitude of the battles between these factions, neither could gain dominion over the other for long. The archangel Anarius, exhausted by the endless conflict between the heavens and hells, sought to create a peaceful world devoid of the strife that had consumed both realms for so long. To this end, he joined forces with the demoness Lilith, daughter of hatred, and gathered renegade angels and demons sympathetic to their cause to create the mortal realm of Sanctuary. Anarius utilized the World Stone, a powerful artifact that had long been fought over by both factions, to conceal Sanctuary from the prying eyes of heaven and hell. The dissident angels and demons of Sanctuary gave birth to the forebears of humanity, the Nephilim. When it was found that the power of these entities could eclipse that of their progenitors, some were concerned that their strength might draw the attention of the high heavens and burning hells. When Anarius left to contemplate this revelation in solitude, Lilith, fearing for the safety of her children, rampaged through Sanctuary and butchered every angel and demon residing in the realm. Anarius was forced to banish her to the void and tampered with the World Stone to curtail the power of the Nephilim. Each generation grew weaker, their lifespans diminishing over time until they fully transformed into a race of mortals who possessed little knowledge of their forebears. For a time, mankind led a peaceful existence in Sanctuary, but, as with all good things, such was not to last. The lords of the burning hells unearthed the mortal realm that had been hidden from them, enkindling the Great Sin War. This struggle saw Anarius pitted against the forces of hell, each attempting to subtly coerce and manipulate the humans to their respective sides. Both vied for control over mankind, the demons seeking to brandish the mortal denizens of Sanctuary as weapons in the eternal conflict, while Anarius sought to keep control of the perfect world he had created. To influence humanity, the prime evils of the burning hells founded the Temple of the Triune. This cult was comprised of 3 branches devoted, unbeknownst to the mortals, to alter egos of the prime evils, Mephis, Dialon, and Bala. The Triune slowly and subtly seduced humanity to the side of sin, growing in number as the decades passed and the influence of the prime evils went unchecked. In an attempt to offset the Triune's growing power, Anarius adopted the guise of the prophet, and created the Cathedral of Light to preach the tenets of the high heavens. The stalemate between light and dark continued in Sanctuary as it had in heaven and hell. Both the Triune and the Cathedral of Light spread their respective gospels throughout the lands and amassed swaths of believers until their game of chess was upset by the return of humanity's first mother, Lilith. Lilith weakened the inhibitions put upon the Worldstone by Anarius, allowing the Nephilim to regain their former powers. She then manipulated a farmer, Uldacian Uldeoned, into weaponizing his reawakened Nephilim abilities. Uldacian led his fellow Nephilim in a revolt against the Triune and the Cathedral of Light, further manipulating the Worldstone to amplify the Nephilim's otherworldly powers and drawing the attention of the high heavens to Sanctuary in doing so. A triplicate war broke out, ending only when Anarius banished Lilith to the void once more and Uldacian realized that the unchecked Nephilim could spell doom for all of Sanctuary. He sacrificed himself to once more suppress the power of the Worldstone, divesting his fellow Nephilim of their regained abilities in the process. Following Uldacian's sacrifice, the Anguirus Council and Mephisto convened to decide the fate of Sanctuary. Both sides of the Sin War came to an eventual agreement. In exchange for Anarius's eternal imprisonment in the burning hells by Mephisto, heaven and hell would refrain from interfering in the affairs of Sanctuary and would instead allow humanity's future generations to walk the paths of light or dark of their own unbiased accord. Thus, mankind's memories of the Sin War and of the demons and angels that had once walked amongst them were erased, and the entire affair faded quietly into history. The agreement Mephisto had made with the Anguirus Council drew the ire of the 4 lesser evils of the burning hells, who began to question the authority of the prime evils. They believed the 3 to be unfit to continue the fight against the high heavens and began an uprising that consumed all of hell. The lesser evils emerged victorious and exiled the prime evils to the mortal realm. Mephisto, Diablo, and Baal swept through Sanctuary, ravaging its eastern lands for decades and leaving immense suffering and chaos in their wake. Their presence was eventually noticed by Tyrael, the Archangel of Justice. To combat the prime evils, Tyrael formed the Horadrim, a faction of powerful mages who devoted themselves to the destruction of the demon lords. The Horadrim pursued the 3 throughout Sanctuary, armed with soulstones fashioned out of the Worldstone's shards by Tyrael that were capable of imprisoning the prime evils. The Horadrim succeeded in capturing 2 of the 3 demon lords within the soulstones and locked them away. After a lengthy pursuit, Jared Kane and his fellow Horadrim sealed the last of the 3 evils, Diablo, and hid his soulstone beneath Tristram Cathedral. With the threat of the prime evils no longer looming over the land and the duty entrusted to them by Tyrael accomplished, the Horadrim slowly faded away. Once more, the people of Sanctuary knew peace. Years later, a well-liked monarch named Leoric came to Tristram and named the town his seat of power. Unbeknownst to Leoric, the soulstone that had been sealed beneath the cathedral long ago had become corrupted by Diablo's power over time. Leoric's advisor, the Archbishop Lazarus, found himself drawn to the soulstone and the energy emanating from it. Diablo corrupted Lazarus and compelled him to free the demon's weakened spirit. To manifest himself once more, Diablo sought a mortal body to house his ephemeral soul. He tried, first, to possess Leoric, but was unable to fully dominate him, leaving the king a maddened and senseless husk of his former self. Diablo turned, then, to Leoric's son, Prince Albrecht. The demon forced Lazarus to embed the soulstone in Albrecht's forehead, thereby allowing Diablo to seize control of the prince's body. Leoric, driven mad by Diablo's failed possession, accused the people of Tristram of masterminding his son's disappearance and began executing those he deemed guilty. Leoric's knights were forced to slay their king, leaving Tristram with neither ruler nor heir to guide them through the encroaching darkness. Lazarus took advantage of this uncertainty and united the people of Tristram to rescue Prince Albrecht, luring them into the catacombs beneath the cathedral. Townsfolk rallied en masse, but the lies of Lazarus led them only to their gruesome deaths at the hands of the monstrous butcher. Diablo, fed by these sacrifices, grew in power and began summoning demons to terrorize the countryside as he continued to regain his strength in preparation to free his brothers, Baal and Mephisto, from their own prisons. From the darkness emerged an unlikely hero, one of many drawn to Tristram seeking to put an end to the plague of demons. He delved deep into the labyrinthine bowels of the cathedral, slaughtering fiends and uncovering Diablo's nefarious plot before coming face to face with the prime evil himself. The hero succeeded in besting Diablo but was forced to embed the soulstone within his own forehead to contain the Lord of Terror once more. Though the hero had prevailed over Diablo, the power of the soulstone overwhelmed him. A broken man who had been hollowed into little more than a vessel for Diablo, the hero took up the mantle of the Dark Wanderer and began journeying eastward. Thus, in the wake of destruction, does the story of a humble new hero begin, your story. Embark, if you dare, upon a journey into the suffocating darkness of Sanctuary where you'll unravel the mysteries of the Dark Wanderer and unearth the fates of the prime evils. So how was the storytelling? Am I making progress of my contents? Let me know by leaving a like and comment below. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to future updates. As always, thank you for watching my content. Peace out.
Not even death can save you